Can you narrow down what you have to do today to 3 things? It's hard, but it's a really good practice. It's an exercise that makes us stronger and more confident in what we do accomplish in a day. If you usually end the day feeling defeated and failing, like you didn't really do anything at all, then try picking only 3 things to do today. A daily card with the 3 most important things to do today is one of the cornerstone pieces that I teach inside Simply Convivial continuing education, even here on YouTube in my videos and in my new book, How to Use a Planner Without Wasting Time. That book is super small. It won't waste your time either. So if you want to learn more, check that out. It can seem strange to try to increase our focus and productivity by decreasing the number of things on our list, but it works. In today's episode, I am sharing a clip from a member-exclusive weekly seminar. Every week inside Simply Convivial Continuing Education, I teach a 20 or 30-minute seminar on one of the topics we're learning about inside membership. This clip is about how choosing 3 things is an important part of the daily card, and going beyond it to 4 or 5 might indicate trouble spots in your thinking. And I want to share it with you today. So let's dig in. Carly says that she's thrilled with the daily card because it's freeing her up to feel good about doing what I'm supposed to be doing, not feeling like the daily grind tasks are drudgery. Awesome. That's exactly a huge part of the point of the daily card, is to acknowledge where our time really ought to be going. And a lot of times the things that we do need to be spending most of our time on don't make it to our to-do lists because we fill our to-do lists with all the extras. What we can do really is limited. And that's one reason why, is a general rule, I say 3, choose 3. It's not like you're going to get arrested if you have 4. But if you make it up to 5 things on your daily card, that is a sign to step back, think about what your thoughts are that are causing you to think that you need to pick 5 things for your card, because it is either that you are not quite understanding the purpose of the daily card, or you're really overestimating your energy availability and time for the day. So we pick 3 for our daily card to force us to narrow things down. If you're putting 5, 6 things on your daily card, you're not making yourself make those hard choices, but it's actually the action of making those choices of that narrowing it down brings, where the focus comes and the real progress comes. Because instead of just putting all the things on there, you have to go through that process. Kathy says, when I pick 5, it's definitely because I'm overestimating my time or energy budget. It's wishful thinking. Yeah. Because we probably all do more than 3 things in a day. So the daily card 3 isn't limiting yourself to only do the top, but it is calling out those top 3 as your priorities, where if you're given a list of 5 or 10 things to do, the top 3 are like highlighting out of those 10 which ones actually have the most benefit to your day, to your life, which ones reflect your real priorities, so that you choose them before you do some of the other things. We make a long list of the things that should happen today, but the top 3 is a way of calling our attention to those things that really matter. in our life this day. So that's why for me, homeschooling is always one of my top 3, even if I'm not going to be tempted to skip it. Definitely there are days where I am tempted to skip at least parts of the homeschool plan. And so then it definitely be on the top. But even when it doesn't, even when everything's humming, we have a good plan, it all fits, it all works, it's all good, homeschooling goes on that top 3. Not because I would forget to do it if I didn't write it down and see it, but because I'm reminding myself and acknowledging on my plan that a significant chunk of my day is going towards home. And that is one of my primary responsibilities. So if that happens and cleaning the bathroom doesn't happen, we're good. It's fine. I might, eventually look into figuring out what we can do to make both happen. But if given the situation where I have to choose between the two, say someone really needed math tutor, or the writing assignment was way more involved than I realized. And so it took time that I was going to spend in the house or doing laundry or doing whatever. Having homeschool up on my top 3 reminds me when that comes up, because I probably don't know the night before or going into the day that there's going to be math drama, or there's going to be an extended time on this other assignment, or, things come up in the midst of the school day. But even though I don't know what's going to come up necessarily during that school day, I do know that that's where I'm supposed to be spending my first time and energy, my best time. So if a need comes up, and it's like, well, we can either work through this and spend our time on education, or I could clean the bathroom or get the laundry done. I've identified and called out for myself, no, this is the priority. This is where your attention go. If it's needed here, this is where it goes. And the other thing can be postponed until tomorrow or a different time of the day. And then when the end of the day comes and we're evaluating how the day went, we don't just look at all the things that we didn't do today, which is our temptation. We look and say, oh, I didn't do this, didn't do that, didn't do that. We have the list of other things that could have happened today and didn't, but we have that daily top 3. And it reminds us homeschool was number 1 on that list, and it happened. And in fact, today that had to displace some of these other things, but I stuck with it and did it. These things I'll put on my list for tomorrow. We're fine. And so it's a way of counting for yourself the things that really matter, because they tend to be the things that we don't include on our normal litany of tasks. And at the end of the day, to make your assessment about the day based on how you went about those top 3, and not, treat it like you're grading your day based on a percentage of how many things on your big long list you got done, which tends to be our default. It's like, well, I had 20 things. I only got 10 of them done. So 50%, 50%'s an F. And like, that's how we go about evaluating our days. And that's not good, because it becomes the way we view our whole day even before it begins. And it becomes a pattern through repetition of how we view what's going on, even if the reality is that we are putting our attention where it actually matters. But we're going to end up not having that attention, or misprioritizing and mismanaging, or maybe even evaporating our attention and motivation for those things that matter, because we're saying that my grade for the day is based on this other separate list of, really subordinate tasks. Bethany has a good point here. She says that she remembers that I said that it's okay to have something on the list, even if it's definitely going to happen no matter what, right? Sometimes we treat it like a reminder, like, oh, I'm going to put here the things I'm going to forget. But really, it's more about, where does my time and attention actually have to be, or what's going to be eating up my time today? And just acknowledging that, budgeting for that in our expectations. So she says, today I had new windows installed. That's a fun thing. So one of her items times was just being at the house for the window guys. She didn't have to do anything except be there, but it was a huge distraction and time consuming. So she put it on the list. And that's exactly what the top 3 is for. Just acknowledging where your time is going to go today. And that's one reason why we have to limit it to 3 is because our time is limited. Kathy says, I haven't been willing to accept the reality that school means less other stuff will get done, but to be okay with that. Yes. Naomi says, so if it's the middle of the fall crazy, should every day say 1, school, 2, make dinner, and then 3, one other thing? It seems so, but it isn't at all. So it's a part of making over our expectations and our internal story, because you are educating how many grades in a day? Like, how is that puny? Homeschooling is not at all puny. It could be one thing, and if that got done, respectable. It is completely enough. So if you find that making dinner takes attention and time that you're not giving it, and so then it's that emergency scramble, you don't want something that you know is going to happen every day and that's really essential to happen, like dinner, to be a daily emergency or a scramble. And so to make it not the case, which is completely normal to be expected when you're homeschooling, you have a lot of kids, a baby in the mix, like figuring out how to make dinner and get that going is totally worthy of a top 3. Now, if you have bigger kids who can help and you can figure out a system and maybe have grocery delivery and a super, if you've figured out a streamlined system, and so making dinner doesn't take a lot of time, or you're not feeding quite as many people, then it's fine. Even though it has to happen, it doesn't take up that time and brain space. So it doesn't need to be on the top 3. But if it does take up a significant amount of time and brain space, then it should be on the top 3 because it counts. If you're making dinner happen, feeding the whole family, and it wasn't an emergency, that should count. So it should be on your list. The same thing can go with laundry. If everything's going, like the goal is to have a routine that keeps it going, where it just kind of happens. There's a continual process in the loop, things happen, so that laundry shouldn't be on the daily top 3. But there are times where laundry needs to be one of the top 3, whether that's because you just got back from a vacation, or everyone's puking, or the kids went and played in the creek and got all muddy, or you're just behind, like you were doing other things, came up and you weren't in the house, and so your routine got off and now you're 5 laundry loads behind. To get yourself back to the routine is going to take some time and effort into catching up on the laundry. Then make it a top 3. This is one of the things I'm going to do today, is keep that laundry going, because it's one thing that at the end of the day, you're probably going to be tempted to not count. Like, I was just catching up. That doesn't count. The daily card is for figuring out where your time and attention is best put today, and writing that down and acknowledging that. So you have to narrow it. Inside Simply Convivial continuing education, the most beneficial part, I think, is not the courses where you get more information, but it's in the ongoing accountability and review of the community coming together. As you heard in this excerpt, the other women sharing in the chat, or during our Zooms where we meet up and share about what we're learning and how we're applying these concepts. Those insights and stories help us each apply it better in our own life. And it helps us to recognize that we aren't the only ones who struggle, and that working through the struggle and gaining insight and sanctification through it by repenting and rejoicing on repeat is the key. That's where a community of like-minded women makes such a difference in our real everyday life. If you want to be a part of this community, you are welcome to join us. Enrollment is open, and you get so much more than the information inside the 12 courses. You get accountability, motivation, support, and more. Just go to simplyconvivial.com and click the green enroll button to find out about everything happening inside membership, and decide whether whether or not it's for you. That's simplyconvivial.com and click the green enroll button and join us as we repent, rejoice, repeat.